Hey Mo,
Hey Ricky, how you doing?
I'm good. The doctor is in.
Yes, we are. It is another Wednesday. We made it through hump day and we got to talk about it because it's hot outside. It's summertime hot, but some people are hot for a different reason.
I know some people are flashing. I know I should have brought one of our fans. We made some fans for flashes. Remember we had them at Essence last year?
Oh
I gotta
yeah.
get these guys some fans, some little hand
Mhm.
that do with you. You have one, don't you? Don't you like this? So
Mm.
today we are going to talk about tamoxifen, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Why do
Yeah.
we have it? What's its purpose? Do we do it? How long do we stay on it? Does it really help us? And how do we deal with the side effects and all the things about it? So we have these lovely, beautiful breasties to talk and tell their stories. And I don't know a lot about tamoxifen because I had triple negative, and we don't take tamoxifen. We don't have a drug
Mhm.
that recurrence, and so I can't really speak from first experience. So we have these lovelies here. So why don't we introduce everybody? You guys want to introduce yourselves? Dr. Alexia, you've been here before, done that, got the t-shirt. Thank you for coming, all of you guys, and start the introductions.
I'm Keisha Ellis. I'm a breast. I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer in 2017. So I'm a 6-year survivor, and I've been on tamoxifen ever since then.
Amen.
Awesome. Amen.
Right.
Bless you. Bless
Thank,
you.
thank you.
Glad to
Dr.
have you.
Alexia.
Hey, everybody. I'm Dr. Alexia. I'm a triple board certified physician. I am a stage 3 breast cancer survivor thriver, and I am a PALB2 genetic mutant. I knew I was at high risk before I had breast cancer, and that's how I ended up on tamoxifen. So I'm excited to share the good, the bad, and the ugly about that with you all.
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome.
Great to
Awesome.
have you back.
Yeah. Good to see you. Darlene.
Hey everyone. I am not long into my journey. I was diagnosed last year with stage one, ERPR positive, and was treated and have been on tamoxifen since October.
Mhm.
And we think you have a special doctor that we may know.
I do, Dr. Mo. Yes, she took
Oh,
care of all of that, all of that. Oh my gosh, it was such a blessing to have her. From the very moment I mean, we talked about personal touch. The moment I met her, I walked into her office and she gave me a hug and I said, see, we can do things. Let's do this. And it was just done. Yeah.
it was your attitude that determined so much of how things went for you also, because nothing in this journey is easy. But I have to
Mhm.
tell you, you are managing it all with such grace, and there's some lessons to learn and things to share and tips to
Mhm.
share. And that's why I invited you here today, because I never seen anybody on tamoxifen rocking out like you are. And you need to tell the secrets because people need to know, like, how
Yes.
do we get through 5 years of this? I know you only been on it for less than a year, but
Yes.
that first year for a lot of people determines the fact that they're not going to make it the next four
Right.
years. So we're
Right.
definitely going to get into it.
Okay.
Great. 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 I know. So who are we missing?
Miss Debbie.
Oh, Debbie.
Yes.
Debbie.
Hi, hi, ladies. I am Debbie Andrews. I'm here in Washington, D.C. I am a 10-year breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in December of 2012. I had a lumpectomy. I had 4 rounds of chemotherapy, 5 weeks of radiation. And I'm happy to say this is my last month taking tamoxifen.
Wow. So you've been on it for 10 years, Debbie?
10 years, yes.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wow. And Ricky, tamoxifen, I can give a little bit of history on this because
Yeah.
people don't know tamoxifen been around since 1962.
Yeah.
Wow.
I looked
Yeah.
it up. I was like, wow.
Yep, it was first synthesized by a female chemist. So a woman developed it, and initially it was part of an oral contraception. So they were trying to come up with right. They were trying to come up with a form of birth control, and it ended up having benefit against estrogen in breast cancer, and so that was the start of it. It then got bought by AstraZeneca, and it inhibits the growth promoting actions of estrogen in breast cancer cells because, estrogen is kind of the gasoline that makes the car go
Yes.
for those ER positive breast cancers. So after the surgery and after the radiation, we offer women something to try to prevent their recurrence or to stop the stimulation of the thing that caused it in the first. Well, I don't want to say the thing that caused it because it's not like estrogen caused it. It's just the fuel that it's the growth factor that helps it to grow. It's the fertilizer, I guess.
Yeah, it's like it's the energy that makes it grow. Like the fuel, I think, is the best word for it, right? So
Yeah.
is it only for ER positive breast
It
cancer?
is. It hasn't been shown from the research that I've done to really have much benefit outside of that. Although there's some schools of thought about whether or not and how estrogen plays a role for triple negative breast cancer, but it might actually be giving estrogen and not blocking it. So
Not
that's
blocking
a
it.
different
That's what I thought.
conversation.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
not a good place. Yeah, that's not a
Hmm.
good place to be, right? Great, great, great. So great. You guys kind of got to give a brief on your story. Can you talk about like just your whole experience with it? Like, and I think you said, how long you've been on it, but how did it feel when you started? How was it described to you? What did your doctor
Yeah.
say about it? Like what
And what did
made
you
you
hear?
take it?
Right.
What did you hear? Like what were you told about it that as to why you should take something for 10 years, Debbie? Like did you know you were going to take it for 10 years in the beginning and like kind of all that stuff? Debbie, you want to go first?
I'm sure, absolutely. In the beginning, I was told 5 years, but for some reason, my oncologist told me it would be best for me to take it for 10 years. But my experience with tamoxifen wasn't that bad. In the first couple of weeks when I started taking the medication, I would have a lot of throbbing pains in my legs at night because I'm active, exercising, doing aerobic activity, walking helped me a lot. So the leg pain only suffered for maybe a couple of weeks. I'm gonna say about 4 weeks. And thereafter, I didn't have any issues. I have not had any issues within the last 10 years. I'm just happy to be off of it, And another thing that I'm still having an issue with is the hot flashes. Yeah, the
All
hot
right,
flashes.
so let's talk about that. So let's talk about what kinds of side effects did you have? I thought you had pain and
Yeah,
hot flashes. Anything else? Any other side effects?
no other side effects. No, just the throbbing in my legs and the hot flashes.
Did
Yeah.
you talk to your doctor about the side effects when you started
I
getting?
talked to her about it, and one of the things she talked to me about was prescribing me with some kind of menopause medication. But she told me that the medication has a lot of side effects, which I didn't want to take any more medication. She also told me that the medication has a tendency to make you crazy, in other words, and it's hard, once you get on, it's hard for you to get off. So
Make you
I just
crazy? Make you crazy?
loopy, in other
Loopy. Okay, loopy. Okay. Crazy
I
loopy.
didn't want any
Okay.
menopause medication that's gonna, I'd rather just, heal naturally. One of the things that helped me with hot flashes is vitamin E and primrose oil. Yeah, and I juice a lot too, so juicing helps me a lot. Yes,
So you said you're happy to get off of it. Why?
I'm tired. I'm tired of the hot flashes. And one thing I can say about when I take tamoxifen, I take it at night. I mean, if I'm going to sweat, I prefer to just sweat in my sleep. But during the day, it's not going to work for me. So I normally take my tamoxifen about 7 to 8 o'clock at night because I'm one of those people that go to bed early, so I'm asleep at 9 o'clock. Yeah. So, but that was the only issue, basically, just the hot flashes, and again, the throbbing pain in my legs. It went away after 4 weeks. Yeah. So.
That was just
Yeah.
a little thing in the very beginning.
Yeah, but in the beginning, but it's been 10 years. Yeah,
Wow.
it's been 10
So
long
how did
years.
it make you feel emotionally? Did it make you feel like you were taking care of your cancer? Like what were you told about what it would do for you?
Well, they told me as long as I wasn't having any issues. My main concern was ovarian cancer because I was told that was maybe one of the side effects, but I didn't have any issues with bleeding or anything like that. But emotionally, I was fine. I was fine. I'm a woman of faith, so I relied on my faith to get me through. Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, but
That's
I'm
the best
okay.
drug. That's the best drug, right?
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the best drug and it's free, right?
Yes. But my main concern is now that I'm going off the tamoxifen, what's next? As it relates to my diet, is there something I should be doing differently? So that's my concern about what happens now. after getting off of tamoxifen.
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that. With that, we can talk about
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. What about you, Dr. Alexia? And you're a doctor, so you had the inside scoop on why you should take it, right?
Yeah, sort of. I let people know all the time. I'm an infectious disease doctor. I try to play the role of a cancer care provider, but I do have the inside track in that I can speak with so many of my colleagues about these medications, their side effects, their indications. And when I was put on tamoxifen, I was put on tamoxifen before I was ever diagnosed with breast cancer. So I was given it prophylactically because I was known to be high risk for breast cancer. And I was known to be high risk for breast cancer because I had a LCIS, lobular carcinoma in situ. And when I was enrolled in high risk care and I was on like my second biopsy and second lumpectomy with this provider, it was like, ooh, you're high risk. And I think they said the risk just based on the LCIS was like 20%. So they sent me to a medical oncologist, who is someone that I trained with and knew well and felt very comfortable with. And her recommendation was that I go on tamoxifen for breast cancer risk reduction. I was 35 at the time this happened and this whole thing started. And one of the things was that I have very dense breasts. So she had let me know it would, sort of decrease the density of my breast. Of course, block estrogen because that is what fuels or feeds cancer cells. And yeah, we talked about the side effects, like not that it would put me in menopause, but that I might experience menopausal symptoms like the hot flashes, excuse me, which I did experience. One of the side effects that I experienced was a lot of joint pain and joint stiffness. And that was sort of problematic for me because I, at that time, was trying to do everything I could do to reduce my risk of breast cancer in addition to taking the medicine. So I became a lot more physically active than I had been. So, when I was jumping around my bedroom doing, these intense workouts for an hour every night and my joints were killing me, or when I would wake up in the morning, I would wake up like Quasimodo. Like I would be hunched over and I would be kind of shuffling along and I would have to loosen up. So the joint pain didn't stay all day on the vast majority of days that I had it, but it was very noticeable. And it was definitely enough to sort of make me want to quit the treatment, although I didn't. But I will say, I was not as adherent or compliant, whatever word you want to use for it, with that tamoxifen as I am with like my letrozole, for example. You know, I took it, but I didn't like the way it made me feel. And so some days I would even have the pill in my hand and I would put it back. Or I know I needed to take it and I just wouldn't. So it was challenging because it's just like not just like it is when you've had a cancer diagnosis, but I know the goal was to stave off cancer. So I wanted to be as compliant as I could be with it. But I'm 35, 36 years old, waking up feeling like Quasimodo, having hot flashes, having these bizarre menstrual periods. I mean, my menses would look like mud. And it was just it was bizarre. I didn't understand it. I had much less menstrual cramps, so I guess that was a plus. I had a lighter flow, so I guess that was a plus, but it just was very unusual in the way that my menstrual period was. So it was a lot of changes. I was very lucky I didn't have any emotional or mood disturbances. And the hot flashes I had weren't significant enough for me to want to take Effexor or any other medicine for that. But definitely, that was the time where I stopped wearing things with sleeves on them because it was just
From hot flashes.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Alexia, so how long did you take tamoxifen before you got breast cancer?
2 years, almost 2 years.
So were you told that it would prevent the breast cancer?
I was told it would decrease the risk, and the plan was to have me on it for 5 years. Now I was 5. And we talked about like reproductive health and issues. And so my medical oncologist said that she would have wanted me on it for at least 2 solid years before I would consider another pregnancy. But by year 2, I was diagnosed with the breast cancer.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky though, your circumstance because of the mutation, right? Like it is
Well,
supposed to help.
no, my mutation then. All we knew was high risk based
Hmm.
on years of finding lumps and bumps and
Hmm.
having really bad pathology.
Mhm.
You
No,
know,
what I mean though is that that mutation is maybe one of the reasons why things happen in spite of being on the tamoxifen. Like, and you didn't know at the time, you know what I mean? But that adds a layer of complexity, and I don't know that we're talking to women about that enough. Like when they have a
Yeah,
mutation, it's a gatekeeper, and if that gatekeeper doesn't know which cells to let in and out of the gate, then
right,
that predisposition is so much stronger that even in tamoxifen may not be able to overcome that, even though it can help. But like you should have, if you had known, maybe hopefully you would have been counseled differently. But I don't know that we're counseling women differently even
right,
about that.
right,
But I just really applaud the honesty that the studies show that more than 40% of women aren't taking tamoxifen
right.
consistently. And
Consistently.
I've had patients, I say, how's it going? You're taking tamoxifen? And oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they'll call the pharmacy. They haven't been picked up and filled in months. Right.
Right.
And
Wow.
so, and
Right.
they
So,
don't want to be honest
you know,
about it.
and go back for a second because I think we should explain the genetic mutation to people because most of us know about the BRCA gene. So what Alexia is talking about is a different gene. Can you explain that, Mo?
Sure, and she may be able to explain it even better than I do, but PALB2 is a partner and localizer of breast cancer gene, of the BRCA gene. So these genes are like ladders and scaffolds, and there's an extra ladder to help the BRCA ladder. And it helps it to stay upright to continue to allow the body to do what it needs to do to be a gatekeeper and prevent cells that have changes that could lead to cancer from making more cells. So it's the spell checker. And the
exactly.
spell checker has an assistant. PAL
Okay.
B2 is the assistant spell checker.
Okay. Okay.
So if
Okay.
that one goes wrong, then the BRCA gene sometimes can go wrong with it too, but
Okay.
it's a gatekeeper gene that helps to keep people from getting breast cancers.
Right. So because you had other things going on, you had genetic testing pretty young. Is that correct, Dr. Alexi? And then so they knew that this was an issue for you, right?
No. So I requested genetic testing and I was told I didn't qualify for it. I was told, and I asked more than once about having genetic testing. Like I just asked because I wanted to know. And then I was sort of trying to, bargain or advocate for myself to have a preventative mastectomy after I kept having all these lumpectomies. And now I'm taking cancer treatment pills to try to prevent breast cancer. It's like, let's just cut them off. And so I was told that was too radical. And so I said, well, what about genetic testing? If I have a mutation, then that will make me a candidate for a mastectomy. And I was told, no, you don't qualify. So when I got the breast cancer diagnosis at 37, which was on a routine-ish screen, because I was getting high risk screen with the alternating mammogram, ultrasound with alternating MRIs. I went for ultrasound mammo. They were unremarkable. And I was then sent for MRI because I think people realized like, hey, we're off schedule. We can't biopsy. This girl's high risk. We better look again, right? Because technically I should have been waiting 3 months for my next imaging. And it was like, just go now. Just go now. So once I got the diagnosis and the biopsy proving my breast cancer, then it was, and had a bilateral mastectomy because that's what I wanted. When they found cancer in the other breast, the one that didn't have any findings on the mammogram, ultrasound, and MRI, then it was like, well, 37 and you have cancer in both of your breasts, and that's really
Wow.
young.
Wow.
Maybe send you for genetic testing. So things just didn't go the way they should go, which is why I'm on everywhere telling my story, because I do not want to see this happen to somebody else. Because if it could happen to me as a healthcare professional who is saying,
Doctor, right, right,
what happens when you don't have a healthcare professional in your family?
right.
What happens when you don't know the language and the family history to bring up and present. But I just, I said, this is their expertise. I'm not a cancer doctor. I'm not a breast surgeon. They know better than me. So I'm going to go with what they said. And it wasn't the right thing to do, it wasn't the right thing to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
But Darlene, what did you heard? On all the message boards. I don't know how many people you talked to about what was going on and how much research you did online, because I don't think we talked a lot about it. You were, when I met you, I think you were like, a full court press, whatever I need to do. But for every
Exactly.
one of you, there were 9 other women who were like, I don't want to take that. Why do I need to do that?
Right, right.
And they sat there
Well,
like this.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was interesting because you were pretty clear to me. So first, I trusted the doctors that I had. So, when I had the conversation with Dr. Mo about treatment options, and we discussed the tamoxifen. Of course, I went and looked up everything too, but Dr. Mo said 2 things that resonated with me, and I remember always every day that I get up. And one is, Darlene, your numbers, your prognosis, your survival rates, those numbers are predicated on you taking this drug for 10 years. It includes that in the math. So yeah, I want my numbers to be better, check. So I heard that loud and clear. And then the second thing she said to me was, don't look for side effects. And I said, okay, I'm not going to look for side effects. Now, that was a little tricky, because when I started experiencing side effects, I thought, that's not due to the tamoxifen, that's something else. So I blamed everything else before I blamed that drug, always. So I am experiencing hot flashes like it is insane, day and night. I don't sleep very well, but I have a really great gynecologist, Dr. Thea, that Mo mentioned earlier, who's really working with me to try to balance my testosterone levels, my hormone levels, so that they're not so severe. I exercise a lot. I exercised a lot before the cancer. I exercise a lot now. Sometimes when I'm on a treadmill for 15 minutes, I feel like I've, 20 miles into a marathon. And then it took me a few times experiencing that, because I thought, well, maybe my workouts the last couple of days were too much. I told you, tamoxifen is the last thing I blame when I have a symptom. And so, then I realized, okay, Darlene, but I keep going, because I don't think stopping is helpful either. So I keep trying to warm up my legs. I added, more heated flow yoga to try to stretch things out and stuff like that. And then I think the final issue I had was, when I was having intercourse with my husband one night, I felt like it was sandpaper. I'm like, what happened? What happened here?
Right.
And so for that, I started using Replens, like maybe once a month, to kind of moisture, was one of the recommendations that I've been provided, and it really works. So the way that I look at it, when I look at that pill, because I know what it feels like to look at that pill, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so busy, I have so many things, so I just can't deal with that pill right now. But I take it anyway, because I know that my life, even though I have these side effects, that is better. My numbers, my prognosis, everything is better. Yes, indeed it is. And so I weigh those. I'm risk averse. So I weigh those options and I say, Darlene, take the pill. So I do, to keep on track. I have the Monday through, Sunday through Saturday pill bottle, to make sure I am not missing a pill every single day, because I don't want to be one of those ones that take, life for granted, or, not take the pill because, one thing or another. And I have too much to live for than that. So I roll with the punches, and I say, you know what? My husband got me a fan that sits right on my nightstand. That thing is humming all night. He knows when I start to catch on fire, because I start dripping immediately. And he's like, you are on fire. I'm like, no, really? I feel it. I just wear a little less makeup. That's okay. It'll be fine. Everything will be fine. I got 9 more years, so I'm doing this.
Right. Right. So you're going to do it for 10 years, but the ugly weighs out the good.
It
And
does. I mean,
it's
what are you
not the
gonna
case for
do?
everybody though, right? Like
Yeah,
let's be
yeah,
honest. There are
yeah.
some people in the chat on Facebook, people are saying, you know what, I was given the choice and I didn't take it. Or, you know, I tried it, it didn't work for me, I stopped taking it. And you have autonomy, but I think you have to sort of weigh the risk versus the benefit,
Yeah,
right?
right.
The reversibility of a pill. So people who, for example, want to family plan and they may be in that window and they're saying, you know what, if I do tamoxifen, I can't have children. But if you do maybe 5 years of it, a lot of people's periods do end up coming back on and they do end up
Right.
getting pregnant and they may get pregnant after tamoxifen. So, but there's all these things that you just don't know until you're in it.
Mhm.
And then you're forced to make this decision about it. But the beauty of a
Mhm.
pill, the one thing I always say to my patients is that a pill, the side effects are reversible. Surgery, you can't cut it back on. But if you don't like how you
Right.
feel on a pill, you can stop taking that pill
That's
and
Hmm.
yeah,
those side effects will
yeah,
go away. And
yeah,
it doesn't cost you anything to try, you know, if you're on
yeah.
the fence
Right,
about it.
right, try it. Yeah, so Mo, the data I saw too said that it reduces breast cancer risk by 40% for previvors. So that's like for Dr. Alexia. But what about, I couldn't find any numbers about what it really does to prevent recurrence. Do we have any numbers to validate that?
So yeah, but all the numbers are sort of in concert with if you do breast conservation, you do a lumpectomy, and you do radiation, your risk for an ERPR positive, HER2 negative breast cancer that has the low oncotype score, and again, we'll get into oncotypes, but if it has a low recurrence score, they're saying that the risk of cancer happening again is about 0.5% per year, and tamoxifen or an estrogen blocker could cut that down almost 0.25%. So if you take one penny out of 100 and you cut that penny in four, right? That's the risk of recurrence year after year after year. It's a cumulative risk. So it really does help reduce the risk. Some people might say, well, 0.5% per year is not that bad, and I'll take my chances. But you know, for the other people, it any extra benefit is a benefit.
Right. Or just even the like the emotional benefit of knowing that you're doing something to prevent it from coming back. It
That's
makes you
the other
feel good.
part of it. Right, Ricky,
Yeah.
because you know, God forbid if something does come back, you don't want to be kicking yourself saying, I should have just took this pill every day.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
not that we should always play the negative odds, but you know, we didn't bet on having breast cancer either, you know, and so it's important to sort of really weigh it out. What people don't know, a couple things, and it's come down the pike, and then I want to hear from Miss Debbie about her journey too, is that there's studies looking at half the dose at every other day, right? And there's benefit that's being shown with half dose, and that there are molecular studies that we can do to see how much benefit it would be. Like somebody told you, Ms. W, you had to take it for 10 years. Did they give you a report that said why you had to take it? Did they test your tumor to see if it would be beneficial at 10 years? Or did they just say, well, the research shows we're up to 10 years now?
So what happened after I had the lumpectomy, I had a test called, I'm sure you're familiar with, it's called an oncotype test. And it basically, take the tumor, test the tumor to see what my reoccurrence level was. And at that point, it was 16%. So that's why they recommend, your estrogen receptor high, and it's to your best, that you just go ahead and do the 10 years. Yeah.
Yes, and that score is, like Darlene said, is dependent on being on at least 5 years.
Right.
There's another test called BCI, Breast Cancer Index, that now looks at people who've been on it to say, should you stay on it for 7 years? Should you stay on it for 10 years? So we're getting to the point now where we can actually do the molecular test to see if the benefit, they call it extended endocrine. Is there a benefit to extended endocrine therapy? And so the people should be hopefully feeling hopeful about this conversation, because nobody wants to be on a pill that makes your vagina dry and gives you hot flashes and makes your joints ache, even though menopause for all of us is coming, and we
Hmm.
were not meant to have
Right,
estrogen
right,
forever,
right,
right?
Absolutely.
It
Right.
doesn't mean you want to
right,
accelerate it
right.
or
Right.
accentuate
Right.
those symptoms.
Exactly.
What's that test called, Mo, again? What's it called?
Oncotype test.
The
Not, no,
oncotype looks at the initial, whether or not chemo would be helpful versus a pill alone. But the
Right.
test later on is called BCI, Breast Cancer Index.
okay,
Okay.
BCI.
I'll
Okay.
put the link in the chat.
Yeah, that'll be
Okay.
great to see that. Yeah, interesting. And also, we've had a few conversations with the Oncotype team and the medical director there because they don't have a lot of data about Black bodies. they don't have a lot of data about Black women on the, the predictive value of the Oncotype test. So I don't know if it's always dependable for us, and I think it's one of the few things we have, but there are a couple of companies that do that genomic testing. That's kind of the standard of care one. We work with another one called Mammaprint, but none of them really have a good sense of a good story for Black women. That we tested, this many Black women, and we know that X% of the data is real for them. So, we have to look at all the things, not just that one test.
Mhm.
It's true, Ricky, because the problem with the oncotype they're saying is that it may not be that the test is inaccurate. It may be that women presented with more advanced disease, and there's a selection bias in the fact that they
Right.
weren't necessarily that they had worse disease than their white counterparts, so their scores might have looked different.
Right.
But
Exactly.
it's still not clear, and I think that we have a lot of work to do. But we are starting to do more of that tumor testing, early tumor testing, late tumor testing, and some doctors should be talking to you about, if you have breast cancer, ER/PR positive, what's specific to you to be able to tell you what therapies you need and not just throw the book at you.
Right. Right. Especially if you're coming up on your 10-year mark, we don't want it to come back. We don't want it to come back. So Keisha,
Yes.
can you talk
So
a
you
little?
guys, so my dealings with tamoxifen, I think I had, oh, you guys had it easy compared to me. I had the swelling of the legs, the pain in my legs. I had the weight gain. So everything, they told me that I would have hot flashes and that it can cause uterine cancer. And so, I mean, I didn't have a uterus, so I was fine with that. I had a partial hysterectomy a year before, so I was fine with that. But then they told me that, so then I had cysts grown on my ovaries, 4 cysts, and I don't have a cycle, so it felt like I was coming on my cycle, and they had to do emergency surgery and they took my ovaries. But the weight gain is the thing that really got me, and so I kind of got in my head as far as the weight gain, and mentally it did do something to me. So I gained so much weight, and I
Wow.
just I wasn't happy with it, and I wanted to get off the tamoxifen. I went to my oncologist. I cried to her. I told them I want to get off. I went to my primary care, and they both told me that she didn't really, my oncologist didn't say I should switch it. She just said to me, they both said to me that you had metastatic breast cancer, an aggressive form. If you stop taking it, your cancer will come back within a year and you probably would die. So that stayed on my mind. So I took my medicine every day, even though
Right.
I was in a depressed state of mind, and I gained the weight and I was in pain. So, I had to focus on God and
Mm.
get back to closer to him. And that's what brought me out of that mental state. And I started losing weight. I exercise. I changed the way that I eat. I don't eat solid foods anymore. I don't eat anything white. And all I drink is water. I may have a ginger ale every now and again, but water. I drink water and I walk 3 miles. So that's my experience with tamoxifen. Um, I didn't really have a problem with it. It was on, I didn't say I didn't want to take it because I knew that I had to, because it stuck in my head that if I didn't take it, that it would come back within a year and I would die. So I got up and took it every day, and the hot flashes were horrible. And I mean, I don't, he said, I have a new oncologist now, and he told me that he want to take me off of it because of the weight gain. So like my weight is at a standstill now. Like I'll lose it, and then next thing you know, it's not going anywhere, and I'll get back in my head. But I gotta stay out of my head with that weight. But I think I go back to him August, and I think that I'm going to change it. Now my oncologist, she changed it before, and that medicine, I forgot what it was because I didn't stay on it long, but it gave me my cholesterol went up, and it made
Okay.
my legs burn. So I got off of it and got back on the tamoxifen.
I'm gonna go with letrozole on that one. And there's different classes of these estrogen blockers. Some are for premenopausal or people who have osteoporosis who can't take the postmenopausal pills. And they all work to block estrogen in different ways, but the side effects are for a lot of people, and it has to do with that blocking of the estrogen, but also can have to do with increasing the testosterone. And Darlene said something really interesting about it, because while tamoxifen decreases your estrogen, it can sometimes stimulate the testosterone in the fat metabolism, and that can lead to more unwanted side effects.
Yes.
Right. So how long have you been on it?
For 6 years now. I've been on it for 6 years.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I didn't really, the only thing I got within the first year, I only had the hot flashes and the cramps in my leg. My legs were hurt. I had to retire. I was a bus operator for WMATA, and my ankle, and I did a lot of walking, so my ankles, my legs were hurting bad. So I had to retire because I have lymphedema also. But
Wow.
Everything came on, the weight gain came on a year later, and all the side effects that I got, I had to do my research on it. And when I knew something was going on with my body, so I'm like, this the tamoxifen. I know it is. And then I would do the research, and I would go to the doctor, and I would say, does tamoxifen does this? And they're like, yeah, it thinned my hair out. I actually wear a bald head because it thinned my hair out too. So that's another side effect that I had from it.
Wow. But you're sticking with it, and you think it's helping your cancer.
Yeah, I'm in a happy place now, and
your ability right.
I think my phone is I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
We're having trouble hearing Ricky a little bit too. It's a little
Oh, really?
delayed.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But you were saying you're in a happy place now. Tell us about
Yeah, I'm in a happy place now, and the tamoxifen really doesn't bother me anymore because I work out and I know that I want to live. I have kids and they want me to live, so that's what it's about, me living.
Great. It's about living. Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit more about some of the ways to balance out the side effects? I know that for like the aches, the muscle aches, I tell patients sometimes potassium and magnesium, take it at night, so that you can kind of sleep while your body is metabolizing it, and you wake up a little bit achy and arthritic, but you can hopefully walk it off during the day. But are there other tips and tricks that you all know about that we can maybe put in the chat that help with some of the side effects? Let's start with the muscle pain.
Well, I don't have the muscle pain anymore.
Good.
So once I started working out and everything, the muscle pain was kind of only in my legs, so I don't have it anymore. So because the weight came off, I was assuming that's what was increasing it too.
Yeah, maybe that was hurting. You're just putting extra weight on your joints and stuff, right?
Yes, that's what I was thinking too.
I think for me, when it comes to the muscle aches, it's not constant all the time. I'll have it one week and then I won't have it for 3 or 4 weeks. So it's on and off. But I just try to like instead of run, I try to walk during that time and really stretch and massage my legs just until to get over that hump. Because the one thing I know is that it's not going to last forever. So if I can just get over the few days that it's giving me issues, then it'll be fine. So that's kind of what I do.
That's really good to know, because I thought it was something that was like pervasive and always present. But if it's sort of in and out, then you can maybe learn different
Yep.
strategies to deal with, and maybe take some of the supplements that Dr. Mo was talking about to kind of minimize some of the impact. Yeah. But the data shows that I found shows that Black women found that about 14% of Black women reported not taking their hormonal therapy as provided, as compared to what 5% of white women. So we're, some of us like back out of it and I'm not going to do it. But also it said that we're more likely to report all these side effects than white women. So it looks like, as here we go, it always affects us worse, right? So we're getting more side effects, and we have a lot of other barriers from cost to just, and also what I thought was interesting is that Black women were also more likely to believe that their risk of recurrence wouldn't change if they stopped taking it. And
Wow.
that's scary.
I wonder
That's
where that came from. Where did that belief come from, though?
that came from the Carolina breast cancer study. You know,
I
they
just wonder why, though. Like, what is it that people
know,
believe?
I
And
know
is it
why.
because we believe that, the pharma company's trying to drug us or something, and we don't really think it works in the
Yeah,
first place?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people do believe.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
How
They
did
have
the
a
kids
lot of information, but
getting rid of drugging us up,
yeah,
But I think one of the things that really, really helped me, and I mentioned this before, is that, you know, in spite of the different types of side effects that you're dealing with, it is so important to have a doctor or two in your corner,
yeah,
listening, helping you. I know that with Dr. Thea, I'm meeting with her every 3 months. She's, checking my hormones, seeing where they are, listening to my next, my next phase of woes, and, trying to kind of help me through that with different alternatives. But it helps that I can go, that I have this appointment, that I know that I can talk to her and we can figure out how we minimize the impacts. But what's never an option is stopping the drug. I mean, that I can't imagine, I believe the numbers, and to me, whatever I experience is better than death. So
Right.
yeah,
I just keep
yeah,
working with the people that's put in my life to help me through any of the side effects, all the side effects that I experience. And just, I'm on this thing for 10 years. So gotta keep
yeah.
going.
Try to find peace with it, right? But again,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess if you think about it though, if the side effects are really bad and you just can't take it, that, okay, what happens if I quit? And then if you believe that it's not helping you, then what's the benefit to it, which is pretty scary, but it also speaks to the fact that, we just don't, a lot of us just don't know about
Yeah.
disease
And, and,
to make assumptions that may
and
not be
somebody,
correct.
sorry, Ricky, you're right. Somebody in the chat had asked about natural ways to decrease your estrogen, because somebody said side effects and more side effects, and it's true. Every drug is a poison, but every natural thing. I mean, if you drink too much water is a poison too. And so it's not just about things that come from a pharmaceutical company, but if you have the side effects, there's some things you can do to decrease your estrogen, like you can decrease your alcohol intake, right? So alcohol, number one, gets converted to estrogen, and it's conflicting with the pill you're taking to block your estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
If you, by decreasing your body fat, your percentage of body fat, can help to decrease your estrogen, because what happens is other hormones get converted to estrogen in the fat cells. And so if we can lose some of that fat, then we can maybe decrease some estrogen. Getting better sleep and decreasing that cortisol. Changing your diet and your nutrition can help. Increasing your fiber can help with hot flashes. So there's some natural things, because people always want to know what's the natural thing. And maybe instead of an alternative, the way I counsel my patients is it could help you to stay on that pill a little bit longer. If we can decrease some of those side effects, maybe we can keep you on it longer instead of trade out one for another. You can do both.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Dr. Mo. I was going to say, it's about lifestyle. For me, lifestyle made a difference. I noticed because I was making so many dietary shifts and actively losing weight, that as I lost the weight, because I lost like 26 pounds over the course of time, that I knew I was at increased risk, trying to risk reduce, and the hot flashes were less, the joint pains were less. The cleaner my diet was, the less symptomatic I was. So at some point I had gone vegan, and I was able to see a distinction between when I was eating meat and animal products versus when I was not. And the same was also true when I took chemo. Like I reintroduced meat because I had this false belief that I couldn't get enough protein on a plant-based diet, and I felt terrible. I felt like death after my chemo. But when I, kept it clean and green, I really did better with my side effects. So when you think about the types of side effects we experience on a drug like tamoxifen, you can think of inflammation. So it behooves us to avoid things in our diet and lifestyle that are pro-inflammatory to help decrease side effects. And some of those things will also are thought to be hormonogenic or, imitate hormones in our body. And so those things can increase the symptoms as well. So avoidance of certain foods helped me, weight loss helped me, and being physically active definitely helped me.
What's helping people with the intimacy? Because I heard Darlene mention one. She mentioned Replens, which, Darlene, I go down my list of things, and some people are good at Replens, and other people it's not enough. But are you really living and celebrating life if you're having really crappy sex and your vagina's dry and on fire, and let's
Yeah.
deal with the real here, right? Like how long we try to live and can't live the life we want to live, right?
Right.
To be
To be
honest,
clear, oh, sorry, I start, Replens is, one of the tools that, that we use now. The other is, a moisturizer, during intercourse. And I think it's the combination of those two that, that I think helps. One of the things that, you know, I will repeat that I never believe that tamoxifen is the reason for any symptom that I have. But one of the things that I had started to experience was too a decrease in my appetite, right? Appetite for intercourse. And but I knew as soon as it started, I'm like, oh, see, I know this is not me. I know this is this drug. And so, you kind of do things to kind of fight through, fight through it, because I know myself. And see, I'm getting hot now. I'm starting to sweat. But I just, because I know that, I do things to make sure that I try to counter it. So maybe a little more foreplay, or maybe I start, or different things like that. So yeah.
It's
with
definitely
me,
a journey, right?
It,
Mhm.
at least you're dealing with it though too. You're accepting it and you're saying, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to figure out how to fix it. And I think so many of us say, okay, I'm just not going to have sex because it hurts or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think that it's really good that you are saying, okay, let's work with this. Let's try some things. And going back to the earlier point, Sunday we did our Love Your Bones show, Mo, with Dr. Keith, and we had Bal's brother on, Dr. Greg, and he corrected me that no, he is not a naturopathic doctor. He is a nutraceutical doctor. But we talked a lot about supplements, about he was vegan for 28 years and ended up going back to eating meat because he didn't feel good in his body, and he was having different levels of his blood work wasn't good. And so we talked a lot about, how to kind of balance the things between appetite and exercise and supplements just to feel good. And so I put the link to that show in the chat. So if you want to check it out, because I think he gave some really good advice about just staying healthy overall. We were talking about bone health, but it really was more about how do you find the things that are going to make you feel good and make you function well across the board. And I'm sure that, when you're introducing something like tamoxifen or really any drug, any chemo into your system, you're asking for trouble, right? You're asking for something to go wrong. So, but he had a lot of good helpful tips on what to eat, how to eat it, when to eat, what supplements to take. So check it out.
can I speak on the sex part?
Yes, please.
So it didn't actually, the tamoxifen, it did increase my sex drive. And in fact, it didn't make me dry. It increased that as well. So I didn't have a problem with it at all. In fact, I was like, oh yes, this is the best thing. This is the best thing I have since, the best side effects I have since I've been taking the tamoxifen.
I love it. I love it. Hey,
We gonna call that one a win, Keisha.
yeah,
I think that's I've had just a handful of patients say the same thing. Like they're doing pretty good on the dryness side of things, and they're not having that side effect. So it just goes to show you never know.
Yeah.
you never know, never know. But and guess what? It's saving your life, giving you more time,
Yeah,
giving
it is.
you cancer. So hey, but it just says everybody's different, right?
Well, Miss Debbie, how you gonna feel off of this tamoxifen? Are you gonna have anxiety and be up worried about recurrence, or you feeling good, like you ready to tackle? Because it sounds like you've been prepping for this moment.
I've been
Yeah.
prepping since I was diagnosed with breast cancer. You know, one of the things I wanted to add that when I was going through chemotherapy, I changed my diet. So I did a lot of plant-based. I stopped eating meat like in 2017. I just started eating chicken again last year because nutritionists said I need a little bit more protein in my body. But I don't do red meat. I don't do any processed meat. I juice. So I just want to make sure that I remain consistent as it relates to my diet. You know, but mentally, I feel okay. I'm kind of happy about getting off of tamoxifen because I've been taking it for so long, but I feel great. I don't have any worries at all. I just want to make sure that I'm consistent with making sure that I stay on a diet regimen.
Yeah.
In other words, yeah,
It's
that's
like a
important.
milestone. It's like you're graduating. Like you should go ring a bell. You should go ring a bell somewhere, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be kind of hard not taking it because I've been so accustomed to it for so long. I mean, we're talking 10 years, you know, but when I met my oncologist a couple of months ago, she said, you know, August the 1st, you can stop taking tamoxifen. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, most people are really excited about it, and I think that
Yes.
you have the right attitude though, because all of this cancer journey is such a mind mess, right? It just
Mhm.
it messes with your peace of mind, whether you take it, whether you don't take it.
Right,
If you get
right,
it, you
Yes.
right.
don't. No matter what you do, your mind is like, did I do the right thing? Did I cause cancer again? And you just never know how to get to that state of peace of mind. So I love the fact that you're at peace. You change your lifestyle. You got your diet
Yes.
on par. You're moving your body,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Right.
you're ready.
I'm
Doing all
ready.
the things. You're doing all the best things for you, you know? So
Yes.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we got to come back in 6 months and you got to come
Okay.
back and tell us how you feel and
Okay.
how you changed, you know, and then, you know, darling, you'll have a few more months under your belt and,
We're gonna get Dr. Thea to come on too because she's doing
yeah,
some
that'd be great.
interesting work with testosterone levels and really trying to help
Okay.
people balance their hormones, not in the way of bioidenticals or giving people, you know, the false hormones, but really trying to understand what's going on with like hirsutism and people who are growing extra hairs and PCOS and the whole hormone balance. And then you throw cancer in the mix, and then you throw a pill in the mix, and it just throws all your hormones off. And
Mhm.
there's some science behind it, but I think she can break it down for us. So I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to invite her to come back and let's have this conversation with the gynecologist about the vaginal dryness, about the
Mm-hmm.
hormones, about libido, right? We could tie this into our sex and intimacy one too, if you.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. We can do that in our love month in February. We'll schedule that for February in our love month. We talk about, you know, relationships and all that good stuff and how we're dealing.
I'll come back for that one.
Okay.
Tips,
Yeah, we'll read
tips
you.
for helping people decide if
Yeah,
tamoxifen is right for them, because it's folks who are
yeah,
watching who've just been diagnosed. So what I'm not saying tips to stay on it, tips to help people decide if it's right for them.
yeah.
What y'all got?
So I think, you know, just remember the data. I'm a numbers person and I like the data. I like the hard facts. If you tell me there's an increased survival benefit if I do this for this long, I'm inclined to do it in spite of my side effects. And I'm going to find every, you know, natural, healthy or otherwise way to make sure that I can tolerate it. And I'm going to understand that just because it worked for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for me. Just because it worked for somebody doesn't mean that it won't work for me. But to just be open and just, you know, take it and see what happens. I mean, I remember taking my tamoxifen as well as taking my letrozole and not having vaginal dryness or sexual dysfunction and thinking, is the pill doing it what it's supposed to do? Because I'm
Yeah,
not happy.
right. Yeah, you thought something was wrong because it wasn't affecting you. I love that.
And so but I think also some of that is just the way that I behave and the way that I do life. So I think, remember, yes, the list of side effects is the list of side effects, but the majority of people probably won't get those side effects or get all of them. And if they do, it would be to varying degrees. So I would say don't knock the medication till you try it because life is on the line.
Right.
And I also would say, as someone said earlier, you have to make sure that you have a doctor that cares and that's, you know, giving you knowledge and everything about it. You also have to do your research too.
Absolutely. And I wanted to add too, you know, I have heard stories where women were diagnosed with breast cancer. They didn't want to do the chemotherapy because they were concerned about their hair falling out, you know, but
That's
that's
right.
another
No,
story for another time.
that's
But
another story. Yeah, we've had,
exactly.
you know, and it's
Exactly.
so scary that, you know, like I don't want to cut my boobs off. I don't want my hair to fall out. All
Right.
the all the physical
Yeah.
changes we go through. But
Right.
what about you, Darlene? Any tips for like, because you just
You know, I think everyone said it well. I mean, I would combine them all, and I would just also say that your attitude matters.
Yeah.
You know, Dr. Mo told me don't go looking for don't go looking for problems. And so, you know, but your attitude matters. Just understanding you are where you are. Things are never going to be perfect, but you know, how do you you know, make lemon out of lemonade and keep it moving?
yeah.
You know, the last thing I would add to that is to consider that the natural and holistic methods can help, and they don't have to replace what we do with the medicine,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know how
Right.
many strawberries you can eat to get rid of a breast cancer, but it sure can help boost your immune system. It sure can make you feel better. It sure can have some benefits to it. And so you don't have to pick either or. And I think
Right.
realizing that there's a middle ground where you can do the things that you believe naturally that can help and also take a pill is a
Mm-hmm.
really good balance. That's a good balanced place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I would add to having being in a situation where I cannot
Uh-oh, we're losing you a little bit, Ricky.
take
Are you riding? Are you passengering?
my,
Where
I
what
don't have a drug to prevent recurrence. I think you guys are blessed. You know, I see it as a blessing to be able to have is great. It's saying my internet is unstable. Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me? Is that better?
Yes.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yes, I
No,
can.
I'm sitting still. I'm sitting still. Can you
You
hear
going in and
me?
out
Okay,
now.
we'll keep going. Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me? No, I was just saying that I think being able to
Can't hear you.
I think what I heard her say was I heard her say that because she's TNBC, there isn't a pill to prevent her recurrence, and that she feels blessed. The one thing I heard her say was, "I feel blessed." Right? And I think you all are blessed because there is a pill to help that. And it's a double-edged sword. The patients I know who are on it are a little bit, there we go. She said being able to take it is a blessing. She doesn't have anything. She put it in the chat. And you know, gratitude is definitely a state of mind, and it's a currency for us. It helps things to be. It helps make what we have enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the people who want it and the people who aren't. You know, the people who aren't are saying, well, why isn't there a pill for me? And the people who want it are like, well, I wish I didn't have to take this pill.
right, right,
But
right.
but
Give me
nobody
some
wishes they had breast cancer. That's the bottom line.
No,
So
at
whatever
all.
you got and whatever the biology dictates is what we should do. Ricky, I hear you now. I think we got you.
Okay, yeah, it was an unstable, whatever. I'm sitting still, but yeah, you know, we all have our crosses to bear with this crazy disease, and we all have to just do the best thing for each other, for ourselves, and keep praying.
Yep.
But thank you guys. This is a great conversation. We definitely will recreate it in February. I'll reach out to you and we'll get a date on the calendar. We'll get your doc, get your doc on Darlene, and maybe some even more opinions about,
Mhm.
but to me though, what I'm hearing is there's more good than bad and ugly. That's what I took away from today,
Mhm.
Thank you for
right?
having me.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your stories. We hope it's been relatable and reliable and real. And that's what we do every Wednesday night here on Black Doctor. Um, And we're thankful to the sponsors to be able to do it and for the platform to be able to do it. So
Thank you, Amgen. Thank you, Black Doctor. And
Thank
thank you
you.
guys so much. You guys
mhm.
be blessed. Be blessed. Rusty love.
We'll see you next Wednesday night, 6 p.m.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Oh,
Take care.
bye, guys.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.